Welcome. I'm excited to present our budget for 24-25. So I'll begin with our PowerPoint. So our budget, of course, no proposed increase in tuition and fees. And we are proposing a 4% across the board increase for salaries. Okay. Also, there's some other, we're adjusting faculty salaries for STEM, where the minimum starting salary would be $48,000 for the STEM instructors and $44,000 for the non-STEM instructors. And we have a little bit of compression to take care of the other people that are not brand new but are close to that level built into this budget. Our state appropriations, they've increased based on what we know so far. The governor has not been presented with the bill yet. It's House Bill 5001. He has 15 days after it's presented to him to sign or make any line item vetoes. It's a good sign that the state of Florida sent out my budget forms early, and they had those appropriation numbers preloaded in the budget forms. So I feel pretty good about that. But our appropriations did increase close to $1 million this year. It's $996,586 over 23-24 to 24-25. So overall, we're projecting our revenue to increase by a total of $1,334,923. So obviously that increase comes from the $996,000 from state appropriations. We're also projecting a slight increase in enrollment due to new programs, the baccalaureate in business management, fire science technology associate degree, technology increase. We've got some capacity in welding that we're going to increase and capacity in the HVAC courses that we're going to increase as well. We're hoping that's going to bring in some additional revenue. We have some grant opportunities as well that are ongoing. The Open Door grant, they've released that to be open to more students now and not just limited to some of the public service programs. So we're excited about that. Yes, we have an apprenticeship grant that's going to be in our educational department. So we're looking forward to getting that and growing our programs there. And also, we're projecting an increase in the dual enrollment scholarship revenue from the state. We send in our dual enrollment numbers, and the state sends us money based on the 28 colleges. We get a prorated funds back between all the 28 colleges share in that pool of money.
Based on the number of students that you have?
Yes, ma'am, it is, yes. And then in summer, they also give us funds for their books. So it's a great thing. It's helped out a lot, yes. Okay. And if you have any questions, feel free to stop me.
Okay.
I'll do that.
So are you going to have more detail on all the individual line items, like on salaries and things? Okay.
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am. Okay. All right. So our next slide, we're continuing to invest in our professional value, our people, our faculty and staff. So we're going to do that by proposing the 4% increase in salaries across the board. We're continuing to support the educational reimbursement. Last year was the first year that we increased our educational reimbursement dollars to up to $50,000. So we're continuing that amount this year, and hopefully we'll get a lot of people furthering their education and taking advantage of that program that we offer. Again, we're raising the salaries for the faculty, the STEM and non-STEM. We're requesting 3 new faculty positions within this budget: a fire science teacher for the AS program, the Educational Prep Institute testing program, and an HVAC instructor. We're also requesting 4 new staff positions for our student support staff. And we've granted a request for the fall term sabbatical for an English instructor. That is Michael Baker, a longtime English instructor. He's going to take 1 term off and go to Hartsland in England, and they're going to show him some of the upper level English division courses. And he hopes to take some of that back and bring it back and implement them here at Florida Gateway, some courses that we don't have yet, and build some additional curriculum with that. Okay. Our next item is corroborate student success. Students are our priority. They're our reason we're here. So how are we going to do that? We're going to do that by new programs, new courses. I talked about the Fire Science Technology AS and the Business Administration baccalaureate degree. We're getting the additional faculty and staff positions to support the students in their programs and back-end offices that they work in. And we're continuing our commitment to hire and train student workers. Last year, we bumped up our funds allocated to student workers, and those are the student workers who don't necessarily qualify for college work-study funds. So we are, again, offering $46,000 for student workers on campus to be used in a variety of departments. So yes, we're excited about that. I do have a little note I can share with you. Our IT office has used one of our students, and we are very close to hiring him in a full-time capacity.
That's very good.
Yes, so that's very exciting. One of his instructors actually brought him to our attention saying, hey, this kid's really sharp. And our IT department says, well, come work with us and let's see what you've got. And we feel like he's somebody that we can grow him into a position down the road. And in the meantime, take him in like a junior position sort of thing. But we're excited about that. Yeah.
Did
Okay.
you fill that, the liaison position that we got approved last year? That was
We did.
the advisor position. How is that working out?
Yes. Tony would actually
Feedback
be
on that?
better to, do you want to talk on that?
Yes, actually, since she's been on board since January, I believe is when she started, right at the beginning of the new semester, she's met with over 500, or had over 500 appointments in her office just discussing transfer.
Wow.
She also was the lead behind the transfer to college fair that we held in the spring during spring fling. We had good numbers at that, and we had a large number of colleges here, ranging everywhere from Southern Illinois, University of Florida, UCF, UNF. She's made those connections with UNF and UF, and has been working with the new Gator, I'm gonna mess up the name, the transfer program, our Go Gator program, yes, and has already been in contact with those advisors there. So we have done a lot of outreach. She's worked specifically with our athletic students too, making sure that their transfer paperwork is all in place as they move down to play at the next level. So it's been a very busy office.
I'm assuming it was her, but Sarah Simpson, her mother was telling me, she's in the athletic department, she's going to Valdosta State, so
Yes.
she said that, just transferring over, because it is complicated, and for people that are even familiar with things, it still can be, a quagmire to go through everything. And of course, when you're going to a different state like Valdosta State, some of it doesn't line up anyways, but she was just her mom was so impressed about how we just helped navigate that whole process to make it easier. And like I said, there's an involved parent involved, in that one, but not everybody has that. Right. So I really appreciate you filling that position and taking it seriously. And, it's an important resource for our students that want to go to a four-year school.
Definitely. And Sarah is one of our prize students. We're going to really miss her next year. She is absolutely amazing. Works on our wellness center, a smiling face in there. Just a great, great student. We're going to miss her.
Thank you.
Okay, so another one of our priorities is investing in our future. So that includes our new STEM building. We call it STEM 2. It's the same funds for the STEM building, but we weren't sure we were going to get the complete funds to build the original ask that we had. So we said, let's go ahead and build what we have the funds for. And then lo and behold, we did get the final ask. So we were able to use that for another building as long as it falls within the STEM category. The state has approved that. So that we had our meeting, our pre-bid meeting last week, I believe it was. And we had 6 companies attend that are interested in applying. And the bid packets are due May 21st into our procurement office. So hopefully we'll get some good companies. And
The original one that did our first building, did they bid?
They did, yes, they did. So it was just Gray's, they went in with another company when they did the STEM building, so they're doing just a standalone bid. So we're excited about that and building that new building to improve our student experience. Okay, so here's where we get our numbers. And I've got a 23-24 column to compare with our new numbers. So our personnel budget, we are projecting $21,293,214. That's all in salaries and benefits. Our current expenses are projecting $7,279,000 or $79,052. And the capital outlay, that's items that are $5,000 or more that are we count as assets of the college. Could be fixed assets. So we're $231,000 is what we're projected for that. And as you can see, we put more in personnel this year from our percentages. We were at 70% of our budget last year, and we're at 74.2% of our budget this year.
And just a refresher for people that haven't been on the committee before, like, we're still low in our personnel percentage compared to other schools, right? I mean,
We're
probably
getting
there now.
right. I think it's like 75, 76.
We had a concerted effort, John, just to try to get more in line with other schools because our personnel expense was actually on the low side for what, for peers, and it's our main expense, obviously.
Yes. Okay, so here's a big recap of the numbers. So the budgeted revenue, that's $28,803 or $803,266. Again, the budgeted revenue, $21.2 million. Current expenses, $7.2, and the capital outlay, $231,000. So this presents a completely balanced budget.
Okay.
Second year in the row.
Zero. So nothing going into the fund balance. Then.
Right.
What is our fund? What is our fund balance right now? I should know this, but
Right now, it's about $5.6 million.
okay, and that's what percentage of where do they like us to be?
It depends, because if you look at the OPEB and the GASB 68 and the, what's the other one? Compensated absences, which are really paper transactions. They want it to be 5%, but 5% would pay for probably about 93 days worth of expenses, and that's too close to the bone.
That's too low. Yeah.
Yes. The larger schools, they get a bump to 7%, and that's
not enough
too
for them
close
either.
for them as well. So we're trying to work with them to get them to bring that number up to a reasonable number. When I was putting our budget worksheet together, this year it looks like we may be at like 14%.
Okay, but we haven't had any more feedback about it being too high, and when we get the legislative funding, right?
Now, every year we have to send out here's our percentage, and here's what we plan on, why we have this money. We have it for hurricanes, we have it for other natural disasters. It could be any kind of need that the college has that the state hasn't met,
Okay.
that we need to keep on hand.
What did your insurance end up increasing this year?
I've got it increased, or estimated to increase at 5% again in January. So it was, Cassie, do you remember the dollar amount that increased?
I don't remember the dollar amount. I think it stayed pretty flat because of our work comp liability insurance finally got to the threshold that we didn't have to pay any extra for it, so.
Kind of a wash with different insurances.
Trustee Norris, were you asking in regards to health insurance, or were you asking?
Health insurance.
All right, so I wish the rest of the board was here. I think this probably would be important discussion item, and I did brief Trustee Brannon a little bit on this the other day. As you remember, this is in Larry Barrett's thought process. When you decide to grab money and with bad policy but a great idea. There's a lot of unknowns. And it's probably going to be we're still optimistic that this will be the best thing for our faculty and staff, the health insurance and so forth. But there's a lot of work that needs to be done, a lot of work that DMS, which is the agency that oversees the health insurance, has given the colleges a very short window of notice to try to gather that information. I can confidently say we already have our information, and because we went through, remember when we got out of the Florida College System Consortium. However, that being said, there's 27 other colleges that have to participate in this, and if one doesn't get it done, most likely none of us will have the health insurance. But that being said, it's being worked on. That's the positive aspect of the health insurance process. And remember, we were, as you know, this board and all of us were the leaders in making that happen. And this has nothing to do with the legislature. They provided us $82 million. However, it's come about because my earlier statement about policy and grabbing money without policy is every one of our colleges do health insurance differently and everybody's priced differently. Because remember when they said we were sick and old and we were here, and when they told us
And
that.
now are we
all our-
young and healthy?
And then-
You're right.
They
God
turned the
rest her
corner?
soul, Dr. Randolph bit their ears off and so forth. But the problem is that the disparity among the colleges is really significant, and no one can tell the colleges what they're going to have to pay for the state of Florida, which is very concerning to the president and to Michelle, and everybody should be concerned here because the disparity of it is, in some schools are saying they're gonna not have to pay anything, and when you put Broward and you put Miami-Dade and you put those large schools, at $82 million will not go very far. So one of the things I was gonna say with our budget is we're budgeting for a slight increase, but one of the things with our fund balance is we may have to come to this board.
Yes.
We probably will not know until October or November what our bill will be. So I just want to make everything, so legislature have provided us with great policy, and the governor has not even seen the budget yet. So the thing is everything is in limbo, and the narrowing window will be very concerning. But the most concerning part about the health insurance is it will be great health insurance, but at some point in time, we have to know how we're going to pay for it.
Right.
So.
Okay, great.
Madam
And then go ahead, John.
Sorry to interrupt you. Does our insurance have a rider for business continuity? I'm not even sure if that's an issue with higher ed.
I don't believe it does.
Not sure. Can
So
look
if a
into-
catastrophic event comes through,
Yeah, so you're talking about a hurricane, let's use a hurricane,
yeah,
yeah,
just
hurricane. So
anything-
that's under our property insurance, and we're through the consortium. And once again, the consortium operates in a different capacity with property insurance than it does with the health insurance. And we actually truly act as a consortium when it comes to property insurance. And that also includes workman's comp, as Ms. Buckles said. And so what happens with that is when there's major catastrophes like $48 million for some of our sister colleges, we end up having a pool of money and so forth through that. So we all share in that, and there's a huge fund balance set aside for that. But that's why we have the insurance. However, that is a concern because even though we had a little bit of hurricane damage in Columbia County and so forth, we are considered the lowest wind shear in the state of Florida, so we pay very high premiums to cover everybody else from the Keys on.
but beyond the property claims, payroll and utility, and, the things other than property. So that's another reason to have a fund balance that can cover that.
Exactly. And that's one of the reasons we put on our list, the natural disaster, to cover the college, pay our employees while we're getting everything up and running again.
So back to the revenue increase from the legislature. What drove that increase, and is there any particular requirements on how it's used?
There is not. It is reoccurring money, which is wonderful.
Really?
Yes.
Jeez.
Fantastic, yes.
Okay.
So we are very
And I will just
pleased
say,
with that.
on that topic, thanks to the legislature, that would be the second year in a row that we've received.
Yes.
Thanks to some government relations from Mr. Pinchuk and so forth. But in the other years, we did not. Strategically, we'll just say that the formula, as we all promised, the formula within 5 years would bring us up to equity among our other campuses. Nothing was funded for the other campuses this year, except 2 other colleges received two, Lee? Or was it 3?
Valencia, St. John's, us, and Pensacola.
That's cool, yep. So there was actually 4 of us. So the thing is so what we did was actually show, and it was very resonating, that we all talk about this more and more now, is that even though we're the 5th smallest college, and we can compare ourselves budgetarily, we're still not where other schools are, but we compared ourselves that the 5th smallest college actually created and submitted and gave out, and our students earned the 8th most credentials
Yes.
in the state out of the 28 state colleges. So 8th most being the 5th smallest was pretty, and that had very good, that resonated with the legislature. So I think that had a.
Student outcomes.
Yep. Student outcomes.
Okay, that's good. Good. Okay. And then last question I have on,
About the educational apprenticeship program,
Yes, ma'am.
tell me a little bit about that.
That is with our educational preparedness or
Yeah.
educational prep institute with Pam Carswell's area. I don't know exactly what they're doing with it, other than I know we've got an instructor that their instructor, I assume, is going to be training some apprenticeship students to go out and,
So what this is in Dr. Sorensen's school, we've been approaching other schools, and we currently have 2 school districts that we're going to be doing. So it's basically an apprenticeship for paras.
okay.
That actually the school will, the para will earn a bachelor's degree in 3 years here, and the college will provide the training. We're one of only 4 schools in the state
yes.
that will be offering that. The smallest, once again, smallest of the state. So to take the paras, and the commitment from the schools is that they'll continue to employ those paras, and they'll earn their actual credits from their experiences and so forth while taking education programs. So similar to a little bit like EPI, but different in EPI. EPI is for people with bachelor's degrees already and those types of things. But it's a really an important program that the state is pushing, so we jumped on really early on that. So
Is that part of that same program where also like if you're a veteran or that they're trying to get,
that's a different program,
Okay.
but the thing is, but it's similar to that same funding out of the legislature, but we don't, yep.
Do they have to have their AA degree before getting into
No,
that?
they do not. So,
and I'm assuming the school systems are excited about it too.
Yep.
You got 2 that are signed up. You said Gilchrist, and what was the other one?
no, Gil just hasn't committed
Oh,
yet.
okay. Feel free, Dr.
We're
Singh.
excited about it.
We're working on it. Actually,
program.
Columbia has, and actually Duval Schools.
Who does?
Duval.
Oh, gosh, okay.
I'm sorry, I'm like the, when the
Outside-
Jaguars, Duval, no. Anyway, but yeah, and actually Duval, because of FSCJ, we made sure that we did not get into their territory, but they do not have an education program. So they were willing, they actually asked us to do it, so.
Oh, great. Okay, super. And then just last thing on the salary increases, I know you usually get like a salary survey so that a compensation survey so that we can see where we are. So that was part of the methodology and the recommendation that you've made, right?
It is, yes.
Just wanted to say that out loud.
Right, and also with the Society for Human Resources Management, I go to that website quite frequently. For 2024, the average raises are 4%. So we're in line with
Okay.
everybody else. Yes. Any other questions?
You've done a good job.
Thank you, thank you. I'll have the formalized budget for June's approval, so it'll have line-by-line items in there. So we can discuss that at any time as well.
Okay.
Okay. Thank you very much.
I have a question, Michelle, because I think for the benefit of the board to know is that, and it's just a movement of money and so forth, but I think it's important because most members of this board approved that, was our student capital outlay fee,
Yes.
which we used for the Siemens project, that $8.3 million project. This year becomes comes out of the student capital outlay fees already.
Done paying for it?
No, we wish. We wish.
You can
But,
only
the
use
thing
those
is-
funds for
But
7
the thing is-
years.
But the thing is, but we only can keep it on for student fees, so that's incorporated into the budget. However, then what we did was, for other things, we put into the capital
Okay,
outlay.
so you can
So
buy
I
it.
just thought it was important for many of you to know, because that was a huge undertaking.
Yes.
It was funny, I was just looking at that Siemens contract today, I had it in a file, and I was like, I should ask about how that's going, because it was a big situation. So how is it going?
It's hit or miss with Siemens. They kind of own you for
Yep.
a while.
So the guarantee,
Yes, yes. And they say
it's like
perceived
it's like the
savings.
dealer in Las Vegas, right? The house never loses.
Exactly.
Okay.
Yes, yes. We did get some money back the first year, but then now they went to perceived rate of savings, as if we had not done this project at all, what it would have cost us.
Oh, yeah, we would have done it with somebody else.
Right, exactly.
And when you have to buy out things from them, they're very proprietary, so you can't get aftermarket, so it becomes very pricey with them.
And you have a hard time getting other contractors that want to work on their system since they are so proprietary.
Right.
So,
Okay, so they do have you locked up.
yes,
That was a 20-year deal, was it?
yes, it is.
No, we got first 5 years.
7.
Six, seven.
Seven.
Yep, so
Yes,
times-
13 to go. Yeah.
Okay, I'll go by in a flash.
Right. Okay. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
So the other item on the agenda is charter school.
Board calendar.
Oh, board calendar. Charter school is not on there?
It is.
Okay. I'm sorry, I apologize. I had a lot of bad weather coming from Atlanta. Great.
You come bearing gifts, I understand.
Yeah, I am bearing gifts. I tried to get, I actually think I'm going to get 8 rings for all of you because they're free, but these are nice rings, so. Nice. Okay, I'm sorry. Board calendar. Acting Madam Chair, is she?
Is that me? Okay, I guess so. You have before you the proposed calendar for 2024, 2025, and it also includes Union County in November, and then Dixie County in February, and then Baker County in March. So it's keeping in line with our past schedule of when we visit the outlying service areas. So I think we will have to vote on this at the actual meeting, this meeting.
Well, we do it in June. is
June,
the
okay.
organizational
So does anybody have any comments or questions about it? Any concerns? I mean, we always can switch something up in terms of, I know the superintendents and something, sometimes there's a conflict, but as long as we have enough notice, we can do public notice differently. I still feel like it's important to go out into the service areas at least once a year. I know we don't get that much in terms of attendance, and I know it's a lot on the staff, but I do feel like that's a really important public relations moment where if people did want to come to talk to us, they could. So I appreciate the staff and Dr. Barrett doing that, because I know it's not easy. All right, so I guess the next thing is board reorganization. And so,
Once again, this is just planning item. We wanted to put it out there. Usually, that is decided at the June meeting. And as you look for nominations for the board chair, the vice chair, and then the committee through the foundation. So,
just to refresh everybody's memory, David will be the outgoing chair, Renee is the vice chair, and the legislative person is me, I believe, right? Yeah, okay, just double checking. Okay, so if anybody's interested in serving, stepping into the next role, usually the vice chair steps into the chair's role, but it's sort of like the Miss America pageant. If you can't serve, the runner-up can do it. So if Renee, are you still interested and willing? I don't want to put you on the spot right now. You want to talk to Dr. Barrett if anything changes?
I'll think about it.
Okay. And if anybody is interested in being the vice chair or in one of the other positions, talk to Dr. Barrett, and then he'll, I'm sure, call other folks to
see their interest.
to talk about it. And then I guess the last thing is your charter school update, Dr. Barrett.
So I decided not to do a big, there's a little bit to report, but nothing, and I'm not asking the board to actually make any staff is not at this point going to make any recommendations to the board. I want to give you an update. The board had asked for us to look at some different things. One of the things is that I wanted to clarify was Trustee Brannon had asked a question about how many schools actually had charter schools, and I wanted to clarify that for all of you. There's 8 colleges with charter schools. Many have only started in the last 2 or 3 years, but there have been a few in the state college system that have been operating since as early as 2010 for 14 years, and they seem to be high-achieving charter schools. There's only one charter school that's run by the state college system, and it's the only one in the state of Florida that acts as both the authorizer and the operator. And probably should talk briefly about that again, because I think the attorney that was here kind of confused me too in regards to that. But so that school is TCC, that acts as both the operator and the authorizer, something that the state legislature allowed this year by, last year's statute change. They allowed that to happen. We'll see stay tuned to see how that is continuing to do, because that is a difficult concept. So that means you're both acting as an author. This college would act as both the authorizer, which means they would authorize all the special ed and all that situation, and then actually be the operator too at the same time, which has some huge potential differentiations that go through it. So what we were looking at is some of the board after the meeting and during the meeting actually came to me and asked me to look at a couple of the governance structures. So the consultant is looking at a couple of governance structures. I did speak to her last week about it, and she had to get clarification from actually the Board of Education about a couple of things I had proposed to her. But what we were looking at from a consultant's point of view, what I had asked her to look at is, could this board delegate its authority to a different board? If that was one of the issues. The other issue was, could we have another board that some members of this board of trustees could act on both? Could both 2 or 3 of you, and then they would have what we were looking at as a parent, a staff member, and actually a community member along with that. That would be decided by the college, whatever structure we wanted. The other recommendation was potentially to have an advisory board that would make recommendations to this board that would not have the government. It would be an advisory board that we would create another level between. Or the board could just become the full governing board and handle what we did. I will tell you, I looked at 5 of the 8 colleges. The majority of the 5, only 1 placed an item on all of them that I looked at had the Board of Trustees as the governance. And each of them had an agenda item on the board to discuss what was taking place or an action item under the Florida Gateway College Collegiate Academy. It would be listed for us, and then the board would act as that. Or one other chose quarterly meetings to do it. But Santa Fe, TCC, Key West, I think it was Manatee, and another one, and Indian River do it in their agenda items.
Okay, I have a question. So you say there's 8 colleges that have charters. So there are other colleges that sponsor schools, but they're not called charters.
They're called, those are different.
Yeah, because
well,
like UF has PK Young and
those are called
Those are lab schools.
They call them lab schools, but
That's a
So-
different creature. I mean, it's
Yeah.
even another structure,
yeah,
different,
so, and
separate from a
I'm
charter.
wondering structurally, that's different too.
It is.
I have not looked at the lab school, but I know FSU has a lab school.
Yeah, and so
Pretty,
and
a
UF has
very,
PK.
very.
And I
recognized.
know the staff is paid by the University of Florida. They're employees of the,
Well, and maybe that's something, just clarify what Renee said. So we would they would be employees
of us. Mm-hmm.
If we started the charter school, they would be.
Okay.
And there are some additional advantages. I think FRS is a little different with us and a few different things than at the K through 12. So they would act and all those functions would be billed to the charter school. So all the back of the house, which is really the important, the financials and so forth. And Michelle has started working with the financial component of the situation, because it's much different, but as Jim can say, much more different than the college level funding, much different. So I think what I would like to report back to you is we're still working on this. Like we started out with this, I know it's been 2 years and some people are frustrated with this. If we're gonna do this, my recommendation would be we continue to process this out. We do not have the school. That was something we didn't have the building. We have looked at adapting other buildings on campus to make this work, but the intent from the beginning has been to have a separate school, a brand new school. So it buys us some time to process this out. And I really do want to give you, Trustee Medina had asked me to do, is to try to really map this out in a different way. And it gets kind of complicated, the charting. So I want to make sure that we chart it, I chart it and I can explain it so it's not complicated. So.
Question for you, Dr. Barrett. So some of these schools have been established now for long enough to have some history on how they're doing, their outcomes, right? So can we get some feedback on that to see how do they compare to, number one, like other charter schools that aren't run by a state college?
And there's two that are very impressive. Manatee, State College of Manatee, which is one of the original ones, and they've been in existence. They have now.
Is it because it's so special? Do they have like a specialty in that?
No, actually not.
Really? Okay.
So I was surprised, but they actually use modulars, the old modulars.
Really? Okay.
So actually, I saw that when we took the hurricane supplies down.
Okay.
But so that's one we want to take a look at. But they have high, like there's distinction and all this in the state of, but we haven't compared them to, I haven't looked at how they compare to other charters.
Okay, and then the other question has to do that, okay, then they're going to become, they would be employees of our college. And so the benefit package at the state level isn't as lucrative for a K through 12 teacher as it is if you're in the public school system, right? Because they're not part of the state retirement system, right?
No, they're part of.
Oh, they're part now? Okay, all right.
But they get a percentage. Did we look at that? I think I've been.
So I mean, I guess my
higher
question is,
percentage
we're going to be obviously in competition for people to be our employees. Are we going to be able to compete effectively against the public school system in terms of salary and benefit package? You feel pretty good about that?
Well, our starting salary would be the same as the public school.
Okay,
Perhaps
okay.
even better. And then the thing is the healthcare benefit package would probably be much more attractive, actually, than the public school.
Okay.
Once this whole
terrible.
health insurance.
Public schools, the insurance.
Yeah, because currently we're like the school districts when we come to health insurance. So this would be an attractive package for them. So we would attract a very good person. Very good people. And remember, the amount of faculty we'll have for this academy, once again, as you think about it, there's 75 students.
All right, so it's
in
not
each.
bad.
Remember, the first 2 grades would be the only grades that we would have faculty, actually high school faculty.
Okay.
So we would have an English faculty member, a social studies faculty, a science faculty, a math faculty. I think we can 5 core faculty members, and then the principal, and then and then 2 other staff people. So we're talking about 8 total people. Because the intent, once again, is those students will be able to move on to the college in 11th and 12th grade to get that, to get their high school degree and their college certifications and associate degree at the same time. And actually, for full disclosure, there is money available for renovation of charter schools, and so even though there was no money available, we had a great year legislatively. We're not being
Yeah,
great.
we can't complain.
But the thing is, since we didn't make the charter school high school, there is money that we can adapt, reuse current buildings on campus, and there's lots of available money available for that. So we've actually thought about that. there's some pros and cons. We actually have a location that the consultant looked at, and it actually would work rather nicely, but until we have further information, I decided not to pursue that further, so, unless you guys want me to.
And just refresh my memory, I'm sorry, because I wasn't here for the March meeting, but the focus of the charter school, though, is going to be in,
CTE.
right, okay, so we could increase then our enrollment of maybe some young men, to be honest with you, through some of it, right? Mm-hmm. I mean, one of the things Renee and I were noticing at graduations, like, where are all our young men? And that's a topic for another day, but
That's a topic across the United
Across-
States.
yes, it is. It's very disheartening to see that, you know, again, are they not coming, what's keeping them out of getting additional education? And probably Jim Surrency is probably as capable of speaking to that as anybody, right? You know, as an educator. But yeah, so this might be a way to also attract some men into the higher education, into the workforce with more certifications. Also helps companies when they're looking for qualified people.
It will be, we're right now 68, 32, I think it is. 68% women, 32% men. And that's, the average, I think, is now 62, 63, so we're a little higher than the average. It is a concern.
I hope they're just not all sitting on their couch playing Xbox.
And it goes back to that issue that we brought up the last time of all those 15 to 18-year-olds. They didn't break it down by gender, but I would say that would probably be a high number.
Yeah, okay. All right, thank you. Close us out? Oh, I'm sorry, yeah, I guess I'm okay. Is there anything else from any board member or from any else, Dr. Barrett, you want to cover in the board workshop?
Nope.
Okay, then the workshop is adjourned. Thank you.
Thank you.